r/ask Reddit. What is more dangerous than people think? Steam. I work in power plants. Not scared of anything else I'm around. And I use explosives for work. But duck steam. Pressurized steam no one has respect for unless you work with it every day. Many people think boiling water steam is hot and that's it. But when you get pressurized steam, it will literally boil you alive in seconds and the pain is instant but then goes just as fast because it cauterizes the nerve endings and blood vessels. I boiled the skin off one stroke to my hand because of one wrong second at work. Because of proper treatment no lasting after effects except that half of my hand is super sensitive to heat water, sun, steam, air. I can't handle anything above lukewarm even 6 years later. The technology of treating burns is amazing. I had this cast that had a gel insert that had to be changed every other day. It was used to provide moisture to my burn 24/7. Still shocked I have no scar. Steam is brutal. Hiking by yourself. Seriously, last year, a guy I grew up with disappeared. The local area has numerous hiking spots, some that can be a bit dicey. Long story short, he fell and died. The saddest part was he obviously was knocked unconscious or died instantly, because he was only a 5-10 minute hike from the nearest access point road, and he did have his phone on him. Still, he wasn't found for days when he was missing. Be safe out there folks. You don't need to be in the middle of nowhere to have a fatal accident. Hydraulic systems. 3000C hydraulics won't even hesitate to remove your limbs. Adding to that, a leak at a hose under pressure can result in a nearly invisible 5,000 to 10,000 pound spray of hydraulic fluid depending on the application. It can punch straight through flesh and tends to follow bones when it gets inside. It's corrosive, so you can't just leave it. Everything it touches has to be irrigated. This can include cutting along the path of the injection injury, opening the wound, and spraying it out with saline solution. Needless to say, if you have to have that done, recovery takes a while. Not getting it done will mean your tissue being destroyed and potentially losing the affected body parts. In the Navy we were always told a legend of a guy who tried to stop a hydraulic leak with his finger and pumped his arm full of hydraulic fluid. Cows. Cows kill a lot of people each year compared to the scary animals. I lived next to a small cow farm growing up. 99.9% of the time they were docile and sweet and you could go right up to the fence and feed them. But just one time I saw the bull get actually mad, not posturing and showing off for his ladies, and he cracked the fence post we were standing on the other side of. We stopped feeding the cows for a while after that. My dad had one lean into him when he was shoveling shit when he was a kid. It was crushing him into a wall with its weight. His buddy had to crack the cow on the head with a shovel to get it moving. I hear it was a mean-spirited bull at times. They had a small dog that would get it into the barn by chasing and biting at its nutsack. Cheerleading. People get a ton of injuries doing that. Apparently throwing people around and stacking them on top of each other is not always a good idea. From what I've heard from people who used to cheer, it's not considered a sport, so that school don't have to spend money on the safety equipment they should be using, which makes it so dangerous. Two 200lb boys knocking into each other need safety gear, but a 95-pound fly landing headfirst in a gym floor is fine because it's not a sport. My sister has always been obsessed with cheerleading. She can't do it because she has titanium rods along her spine, but she got elected to be the school mascot next school year, which her body can handle. I just hope the world stops ending so in-person school can be a thing. I want to see her be the mascot so bad. Not getting enough sleep. I went through a period of bad insomnia, like no more than 1 hour a night if I was lucky enough to even get that. I couldn't even function. It literally felt like I was going insane. I couldn't sleep for several days while visiting my family, and on the way back home I was sitting on the airplane wondering why I was flying to that city. It took me several seconds to remember that I lived there. In the end I decided that I had been not dead tired when I bought the plane tickets, so it was probably okay. Still scary. It felt like I was drunk and befuddled. Pregnancy and giving birth. When you learn how many ways being pregnant can kill you, it makes you realize how much of a miracle it is that our species has survived. This is exactly why I'll never change my mind that pregnancy should be 100% voluntary and not forced via legislation. There are many ways pregnancy can kill you or cause negative lifelong issues. People should have the option to not go through that. A few years ago, one of my friends died because he climbed a pile of logs. The logs started rolling over him. Don't do that, please. Oh man. That sounds horrifying. I'm sorry he, and you, went through that. Burning PVC. If someone throws some old PVC siding, the fake plastic stuff they put on houses, into a fire, if you inhale the smoke and gas, your lungs are ruined and you are pretty much a dead man. Also, PVC fragments don't show up on x-rays, so if you are working with pressurized PVC, potato cannon perhaps, and the thing ruptures, you now have lots of shrapnel in you that cannot be easily found. Electricity. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it, but that mother ducker can kill you. I learned that the hard way when I was a kid. Now as a grown-ass adult I stay the duck away from anything that could put me in close or direct contact with electricity. You can't smell electricity. However, when electricity forms plasma arcs or burns material, it oftentimes creates ozone, which has a very distinct smell that I can best describe as burning electrical smell, and if you smell it, it's probably a good idea to figure out where it's coming from before too late. Garage door springs. The spring is under constant tension. A sudden failure can cause the spring to break apart violently. When I was a kid around 13, I changed the garage spring with my dad, and only halfway through the process did he tell me that if I messed up and let go of the metal tube holding the spring that we would probably both die. Should have given me a ducking warning beforehand, Dad. Minor impact on the calves, like missing a step. Tore an Achilles this way. Listen, if you feel like you kinda pulled your calf, please get that checked out. Don't be an idiot, like me, and think it's general soreness and continue running improperly, which is how it got pulled to begin with, or working out. I ended spending 14 weeks doing physical therapy, developed plantar fasciitis in both feet, and still to this day have pain while walking up steep hills or down multiple flights of stairs. It's been about 4 years now. Take care of your calves. This seems like a stupid answer, but black bears. For some reason people associate black bears with being timid and safe to be around. Sure, they are less aggressive than a grizzly or polar bear, but they are still bears and should be avoided when possible. I used to live in an area that had an abundance of black bears and seasonal tourists. I have had to tell people that the bears aren't nice and to keep their kids away. Feeding bears is a huge no, but people do that too, stupidly associating themselves as a food source. Horse riding. Actually handling a moody 500 kilograms animal can easily lead you to broken bones. In this sport we all know some people who will spend their life in a wheelchair. I was riding with my family when I was 12. We were a ride for fun horseback riding family. Something spooked the horse and it threw me off into a fence and I barely escaped with my life. 2 months in the ICU with fractured spine, collapsed lung, ruptured spleen, concussion, stitches, and other injuries. I was wearing a helmet and had training. Definitely dangerous when it goes wrong. A little bit of floodwater covering the road. Hydroplaning is scary. Living downstream of an old dam that hasn't been properly maintained. Or an old bread factory. Measuring tape, like the metal strip kind that contractors use. My older brother's one got jammed, and without warning while he was trying to get it to retract, it suddenly and rapidly retracted while he was holding it, and lacerated his finger to the bone. Now half his finger is numb and immobile, and it bled a ton. Just a few months ago, I was measuring my closet for some shelves. The tape measure got caught under the baseboard molding, and I got frustrated and pulled on it. It sliced my index finger pretty deep right at the last crease. I probably should have gotten stitches, but I didn't, and I have some scar tissue and weird sensation whenever pressure is applied to that area. I am very cautious around tape measures now, and after I pulled on it, it was still stuck under the molding. I was so mad at myself. A dull knife. Can confirm. Work in a kitchen. A sharp knife is a safe knife. A dull knife requires way more pressure to cut something and has a higher potential to slip while cutting. Also, A dull knife leaves a jagged cut which hurts more, can do much more permanent damage, and takes longer to heal. Basically heavy pressure plus slipping sideways plus a dull cut can destroy your whole hand. Water. A rip current almost took a friend's life when I was younger. Scary stuff. Seriously, the ocean is powerful and rip currents will tire out even experienced swimmers. You gotta respect the ocean or it will kill you. Lathes. They will turn you into a noodle. Future machinist here. Seen it firsthand in the school's machine shop. One guy forgot to take the key out of the chuck. He ended up having to get stitches on his arm. He got off easy then. In an intro to engineering class we had a machinist come talk to us. First thing he did was hold up a hand that was missing a finger from an incident decades earlier. He called it a cheap lesson. Hippos. Only animal Steve Irwin was ever afraid of. The man wrestled crocodiles for fun. That tells you something about hippos. Lifting heavy things. Just cause you're strong doesn't mean it's safe to carry it. I've seen a bunch of people get at minimum a sore back, and at worst pull a muscle improperly lifting. It can be dangerous if you don't do it right, and besides, you can lift more by squatting than just bending over to pick it up. Carrying is a different matter entirely. Even a relatively light item if big enough or awkward can cause strain, compared to a dense, heavier object. Vending machines. They kill more people than sharks each year. Why are sharks using vending machines? It's not like they can afford to go to a restaurant. Donghead. Surfing. People forget it's an extreme sport because even in calm conditions shit can hit the fan. This week so far 6 have died. 5 to foam rip current and 1 to a shark. People get degloved, amputated fingers, dislocated shoulders, teeth knocked out, and concussions regularly on their first lesson. Taught it for 4 years. Maybe I won't take a lesson from you. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.